Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I trust we're all having a good rest day and spending time with Yahuwah and our loved ones and studying His Word of Truth. I just want to do a quick recap of the last 3 weeks that we were studying the Revelations, particularly the 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 vials. It's such an important part of prophecy to understand that we need to do a quick recap. So we've all of the presentations, the long version, which was the 7 seals, in the medium presentation, which are the 7 trumpets, and the short action-packed presentation of the 7 vials or 7 bowls, the same thing. All are the same presentation. They speak of the same thing. The 7 vials, however, eliminates all the events leading up to the Battle of Armageddon, and it goes straight to the end of the battle. And the 7 bowls or vials are actually poured out on the anti-Mashiach and his army, who is coming from the north, crossing Euphrates River and attacking Israel. And Yahuwah pours out his wrath of the day of Yahuwah on the anti-Messiah's army and the anti-Messiah, and fights for Israel as they enter into Jerusalem, and climaxes with him dropping 125-pound balls of ice or hail on the anti-Messiah and his army as he defends Israel. Okay, so all of these presentations, these 3, even the other ones, the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, the 7 signs, the 7 thunders, the 7 vials, are all the same presentation, although they are told somewhat differently and they start out differently. They all climax at the same event, which is the Battle of Armageddon, the day of Yahuwah, which is the wrath of Yahuwah, and then the return of Yahushua HaMashiach. At the end of each of these presentations, Yahushua gives us the summary of each presentation. So since each presentation ends with the same exact summary, we can now know that these presentations, in fact, do not telescope, and they are not in chronological order. The summary that we find at the end of each presentation is exactly the same. And so what happens is he gives us the details of events leading up to the Battle of Armageddon in each presentation. The seals, the trumpets, and the vials all end with the same exact summary. He sums it up. At the 7 seals, he sums it up. Then he moves on to the 7 trumpets. He sums that presentation up with a short version of it. And then the 7 vials at the end, he sums it up with a very short summary, proving what the summary is a compact, short summary of exactly what we just read about. That's what the summary is, and that's why you find the summary at the end of each presentation, and it leaves no doubt that he's talking about the same exact events in the end times leading to the Battle of Armageddon, the wrath of Yahuwah, and the return of Yahushua. That's what the summary does, and it's the same exact summary at the end of each presentation. So let's get a look at that real quick. So at the end of the seventh seal presentation, which is the long presentation, he sums it all up in chapter 8, verse 5. And the messenger took the censer and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it to the arets. And there were noises and thunders and lightnings and an earthquake. That's the summary of the 7 seals. So then we start reading about the 7 trumpets. And as we read through the 7 trumpets and the presentation of those events, the medium presentation, it gets summed up at the end here in chapter 11, verse 19. The very last verse, chapter 11. And the Mishkan, or the temple of Yahuwah, was opened in the heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his Mishkan. And there came to be lightnings, and voices, and thunders, and an earthquake, and great hail. That's the summary of what we just read in 7 trumpets. He just summarized it for us. And then as we read through to chapter 6, move over to chapter 16, he gives us the short, action-packed events at the end of the Battle of Armageddon. To jump straight to the end. The 7 vials, the wrath of Yahuwah, presentation of the 7 vials or 7 bowls eliminates all the other events that we learned about in the 7 seals and the 7 trumpets, and even bypasses the beginning of the tribulation years, which is the 3.5 years that is the wrath of Hashatan, the devil, not of Yahuwah. It goes right to the end of the Battle of Armageddon and speaks of the wrath of Yahuwah, or the day of Yahuwah. It takes us right to that very climax of the presentations. And at the end of that, of course, is the summary. So let's read it. And there came to be noises and thunders and lightnings, and there came to be a great earthquake, such a mighty and great earthquake as had not come to be since men were on the arets. And the great city became divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babel was remembered before Yahuwah, to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And great hail from the heaven fell upon men, every hailstone about the weight of a talent, 125 pounds. And men blasphemed Yahuwah for the plague of the hail, because that plague was exceedingly great. So there it is, folks. The summary, the same exact summary at the end of each presentation, relates to us without a shadow of a doubt, overwhelming evidence that the 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 vials do not telescope, and they are not in chronological order. They cannot be. The summaries are exactly the same after the presentations. That's your proof. Positive proof. They do not telescope, and they are not in chronological order. So the 3 summaries at the end of each presentation are exactly the same. And they speak of those little summaries, bring it all, compact it all together. And what's it telling us? The tribulation years, the wrath of Satan, the devil, the beginning of Armageddon, the wrath of Yahuwah, or the day of Yahuwah, and the return of Yahusha, HaMashiach, with the earthquake, and the destruction of the anti-Messiah and his army as they attack the set-apart city, Jerusalem, and his people. It's the summary of what is being told to us in those 3 presentations. So he compacts it all into that little summary, and all them summaries are exactly the same, proving, once again, the book of Revelation is not in chronological order, folks. It does not telescope. Basically, there's 3 telescopes that are in parallel, and each one has the same object. And when you look through it, it summarizes the same exact climax: the Battle of Armageddon, the wrath of Yahuwah, the day of Yahuwah, and the return of Yahusha. The end of the 6th day, or the 6th vial, the 6th trumpet, and the 6th vial ends the reign of man and the reign of the devil, Hashatan, the devil, Satan. And the 7th seal, 7th trumpet, and the 7th vial begins the reign of Yahuwah, which will never end. It's forever and ever. So that's a very important takeaway from all this in this study in Revelations, is that the 6th seal, 6th trumpet, and 6th vial ends the reign of man. 6,000 years allotted to man is over at that point, and the reign of Hashatan is, and his demons are over as well. And the 7th seal, 7th trumpet, and 7th vial begins the reign of Yahuwah, which has no end. That, in other words, that's the return of Yahusha, and it climaxes, ends with a great hail, this 125 pounds coming down and smashing all the cities, all the walls, raining down on the anti-Messiah and his army. The islands are taken out of their place. Mountains are knocked down by this great hailstorm. Exceedingly great is that plague. And then the return of Yahusha, the great earthquake, splits the city in 3 divisions, splits the Mount of Olives in half, and then he reigns, brings the first resurrection group. Those who remain alive with him at the time of his return are all caught up with the first resurrection group in the wink of an eye. They come down with him on the Mount of Olives, and that earthquakes all happen, and then they reign for 1,000 years with Yahusha, be priests and princesses with him for 1,000 years, and the earth will be under his government and his rule, and it will never end at that point. It goes on into everlasting life under the reign of Yahuwah. After the 1,000 years is up, Hashatan is released again from his prison, and he comes out, cultivates an army, tries to attack the camp of the Kadeshim, and Yahuwah has nothing to do with that, so he takes the devil and casts him into the lake of fire, where the beast and the false prophet are, and never to return. He gone. Okay, so that's it. That's the recap on our lesson from the last 3 weeks. I hope everybody it helps everybody to understand the book of Revelations and Daniel as well, and we all see that this is nothing more than our Master Yahusha revealing to us the events of the end times and what's going to happen and how they're going to happen. And he gives us 3 different presentations in order for us to understand, and then he summarizes each one exactly the same for us to understand that he's speaking through all 3 presentations about the same events at the end. tribulation years, the wrath of Satan, the battle of Armageddon. World War III is probably going to be in close proximity to that. I think within that same time frame of 3.5 years, times and half a time. And then the wrath of Yahuwah, the day of Yahuwah, and it ends with the great hailstorm and the return of Yahushua HaMashiach down onto the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, and the 1,000-year millennium reign begins. Okay, so that's a wrap on that study. And just for the purpose of people, anyone that is disturbed by these events, we should not be. He commands us, do not fear. But for those who may be disturbed a little bit by the insight, spiritual insight that we've just received from Yahusha about Revelations and the events, which I believe we're getting very close to. Let's turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9. It says, "But as it has been written, eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, nor have entered into the heart of man what Yahuwah has prepared for those who love him." Let that sink in. That should take away your fear. If we look over there at 1 Corinthians 3:16, it says, "Do you not know that you are a temple of Yahuwah, and that the Ruach of Yahuwah dwells in you? If anyone destroys the temple of Yahuwah, Yahuwah shall destroy him. For the Mishkan of Yahuwah is set apart, which you are." So that should give you great comfort, folks. Not only is the Ruach with you and dwell in you, and you're his temple, you got Yahuwah living in you. I mean, who's gonna hurt you? Nobody. And the eye has not seen, the ear has not heard, the mind has not conceived, the heart of man has not known what Yahuwah has in store for those who love him. Going to be great reward for your obedience to Yahuwah after all this is over. And it's very interesting when we read that 1,000 fall at your side and 10,000 at your right side, but none of these plagues come near you. So do not fear. Yahuwah is with you. If Yahuwah is for you, who can be against you? So there we go, folks. Hopefully we all have a really great understanding, a clear understanding of what Revelations is all about. It's not that difficult as our teachers, false teachers in the circus has taught us since childhood. They're wrong. This is clear. It should be very clear to all of us now, and what's going on. And now we know what's going to happen when it happens. Okay, so great study. I got a lot out of it. I hope all of you got a lot out of it as well. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. And remember to stay in love with Yahusha. So long, Natsarim, beloved of Yahuwah.